How's it going, guys? Swiftdeath Shots here, and I wanted to bring you something that's really up and coming and new for a change rather than all the old stuff that I read. And this is coming out in Crossover Souls. I am looking forward to them so much. I think they're going to be the new top tier with a few tweaks and a few techs that we don't quite see coming right now. But they help this Tellarknight deck, and they help the Yazi deck, and they help the Shadow deck a lot more as well by giving each of the archetypes their own pendulum zones. But the archetype also has its own equivalent of Infernity Barrier, which makes the archetype really good. And when you combine that with the Tellarknight support they get, as well as the other Tellar stuff, you basically get 3 Alpha and 3 Zefra stuff to run in Zefra, which is something that's really strong, that you can manipulate really well. This build, if you've noticed, is half Shadow, half Tellarknight. Majority of it is Zefra cards as well. I play in this mainly as a with the idea of facing Quilly, which is the worst matchup right now, with the pending 3 skill drain which we have against us right now. Pending banlist hit, where I think skill drain may be the one thing that goes down, then this deck becomes really good. This deck will be easily tier 1 by then. But other than that, here's basically what I'm going to be running. So we're going to run one of the Zera Queen U. This is your searcher. This gets you spells, your traps. This is really good. You only want to run the 1 copy because it's a 6, and it can be a bit dead in hand. It's really nice to see it, and it's easily searchable, so there's no need for more than 1 or 2 copies max, in my opinion. And then there's the next one, which is Zefra Fuxi. Again, you could run this at 2. The same with this guy, you could run this at 2 as well. We'll get to him in a minute, but you could run all these at multiples. But I just wanted to run a build which was more light and dark based, had more options to it than the usual stuff. So yeah, that's why this is here. So this one, basically what this one does is it turns a Pendulum Zefra or a Yangzing monster into a tuner. So this guy, the Zefra Fuxi, combines with the Valtoria Beast Hammer to make us our Metaphys, which Pendulum effect is you take control of your monsters permanently, but they can't attack that turn, but it's a permanent take. So you can loop this around and take the monsters. That's why we just run the quick 2 Zefra Horus. Other than that, we're not too bothered about the tuners and stuff. So that's just the way to get a tuner into our deck. By the Falco, obviously. Then we have next one is Valtoria Beast Tamer Zefra Pilka. This guy can reborn from the graveyard 1 of your Zefras, so it's good for that. It's also Pendulum Scale 1. This is Pendulum Scale 1 too, which is also why they're in here. So they're really good at just using as pendulum scales, but they're also really good for re-looping around, getting from graveyard all your pendulum monsters. So for that reason we have to run the 1 copy just so we have something to recycle with, as well as making the Horus Dragon. Now on to the core of the deck. 3 Deneb. Deneb is so important for this deck. I'm not sure if I need to run the 3 or the 2, and may run the Rotor instead, but because this is a Fiend, you cannot search this off Rotor. So I feel that running the 3 Deneb is more important than the Rotor in this build. So we run the 3 this because it searches any of our Stellar cards. So we've got these guys down here, we've got the Zefra Thuban, and we've got the Bill Zefra too. So we can search all those guys, and we're set up for our plays later on. So that's the reason I run 3 copies of that. It's so important, this card, and it also works obviously really well with our Alpha as well. On to one of the newer ones, Bill Zefra. Pendulum Scale 7, 1900, 4-star, so really powerful, and it's a pendulum monster. So this guy's really good in attack. His effect is when normal flip a pendulum summoned, target a set card on the field and blow up as a Zefra pendulum monster, Zephyr monster or a Stellar monster, which is either in a pendulum zone or on the field, and then destroy the set card and your own card. So basically you'll summon your pendulum summon normally, get this guy, get another pendulum monster, and then just blow that up. It will go back to the extra deck, but you'll have blown a set up on the other side of the field. So that's why this card's really good. This is the main card I put in my zones as well, because of his ability. He's just really good and he's searchable. Next one, this is my favourite one in my opinion, my favourite of all the Zefra monsters presently, and that is Tellarknight Zefra Thuban. Again, searchable off the Neb. His pendulum scale is 1, which is why I really like him. He's got a decent 2100 defense, and so when pendulum scaled, he's a solid beat. He's a solid stick against anything that's had the Squalifies put on it against Quillport, because they've been on B21. His effects are really good, His effect is basically similar to Bill Zefra's, but rather than popping a set, he pops a face-up card on the field. So the best thing to do is normally, if you've got your pendulum zones and you've got your Secret Yang thing ready, your pendulum scale, bring him out. His effect will this guy's effect will activate to search either your trap or your field card. Then you'll activate this chain link too. He'll blow this up. He'll blow him up. You'll blow up a face up, which is normally a scout against Krilly or anything that's a threat on the board, and then the face up, and then you'll get one of this or this as well. So you can do a cool little combo play like that. Because this guy, because this guy's rank 6, he's level 6. Sorry, he's really hard to actually use in any capacity. So that's why we worry about that more. So this guy's really good. He's also uses my pendulum scale because he's a 1. He's my favourite of them all, to be honest. And then onto the other tiers, we just run the 3 hour tiers because we want to really run some easy rank 4 pushes. If these go to the grave, we can bring them back as well. So that's why, and then their effects will activate as well when they're brought back from the graveyard as well. No, actually they won't because it's normal for the pendulums, but they wouldn't be brought back anyway. So then they get destroyed next, they'll go to the graveyard, and they're also all going to go to the pendulum zone, but they're rank 4s, and so you can make rank 4s with them. So that's really good. The Zefra Naga is part of the first. I only won one of each of the shadow ones, but the Zefra Naga is really good just for putting in the pendulum zone. As is the Zefra Core, so that's why I run both. This guy bounces a pendulum card when you pendulum summon with it. So it's okay. It can get you in a situation where you don't have had to set a scale which you didn't particularly want to set, and you can put that back to hand. So it's really good for that. This guy special summons one of your pendulum scale monsters when sent to the graveyard or pendulum summoned. So again, it's really good for just keeping your board ticking over if you really want to, but I don't run them in multiples. They're just in there basically as guys I can run to feed more dark shadow monsters. Of course, if they're on the field when I fuse with them as well, they go to the pendulum zone, so they can be recyclable, which is really good as well. Onto the other shadow monsters, we'll come back to the rest. I'm running 3 dragon right now. The reason I'm running 3 dragon is simple. Again, I said Quilly have such a good matchup still because of skill drain. So if I'm going to be fusing, I want to be sending stuff that helps me clear the board of skill drains, vanities, emptinesses, and things that could lock me out. So as well as popping scouts as well. And the best way to do that is to get some off-board destruction. The only way I know that's really reliable at the moment, that's solid enough, is Shadow Dragon. He's also a 1900 stick, and you can also overlay of him. So there's no reason for me to not take it if I'm going to run part Shadow in this deck. So that was the reason why I did this. Just the one Falco. I may drop this entirely, I'm not sure yet. It helps you synchro as well into the Horus Dragons, so you can have that option as well. So that's why it's really good. It's one of those cards that's always free plusing, so that's why it's in here. Well, we'll move on to some of the other cards, but you know what? We all know what the Alpha does, so I'll move on to the Oracle Zefra. This card's really pivotal for the deck, which is why we're running 1 Terraformer with it. You need to see this card if you want to get the deck moving in any capacity. You can only activate 1 a turn, but it basically has the ability to rotate any of the Zefra monsters to your hand when it's activated on the field. So when you play this, you get to search for a Zefra monster basically, and that's really important because it can search for any of them. There's no restriction on which one you can take, so that's basically equivalent of a rotor for the deck, so it's really good. And then it gets abilities based on which ones you send, or well, if you overlay, say, or Ritual of a Zefra monster or Fusion of a Zefra monster, you get abilities. The first one is if it's a ritual monster, you shuffle one of your monsters one monster on the field into the deck, so that's really strong. If it's a fusion monster you special summon 1 monster from your hand, which can help as well. If it's a synchro monster, you choose 1 monster from your deck and place it on top, so you get that cool level of train ability. And if it's an XYZ monster you make, which are the ones you'll be making the most of all, you draw 1 card, but then you have to discard 1. So it basically keeps the deck ticking over, and you can basically go through making stuff and getting cool abilities for that. So this card is really important. This card is the most important thing if you want to play Zefra. I bet this card's going to be an Ultra or maybe even Secret, because this is the card that makes the deck work. So for that reason, I think it's really, really good. On to the final Zefra Assault. This card is basically barrier. So I'll read it out to you so you know what it does. When a spell, trap or monster effect is activated, banish one face-up Zefra monster from your extra deck. So you're basically banishing an extra deck Pendulum monster. Negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. So basically, we're running an equivalent of 6 Infernity Barrier in this deck. So that's really, really good. The 2 Onyx are in just for extra damage, so we can stick over things. Then we have, as the other stuff, the Regeki, the Snatch Steel, of course. And then the 3 MST, because we want to get rid of back row problems with Quillport, which is our worst matchup because of skill drains. So that's really that. Onto the extra decks, primarily rank 4s. You'll be seeing Ragnar Zero a hell of a lot. You can make Trivia really easily. The Direwolf's in here just for more removal. You can make the Diamond obviously as well. There's the M7 because you can make a really cool play where you can have 2 6s on the board. You can make these two make the Horus, and if you summon this as well, you can make the Horus in this overlay for the M7, and then bring this back to hand. So there's a continual loop there that's really, really nice, and you're just taking a monster as well. So it's really, really nice for that reason. And then we go into Shadows. We want the 1 Shake, the 1 Window, but then the 2 Constructs of the Light monsters. And we talked about this card a minute ago. Because you'll mainly be making stuff synchronized Pendulum monsters, you get the ability, your opponent chooses one monster they control and gives control it to you. So you basically are stealing monsters, which is really, really good. So that's really all I want to show you today. This is the current build. This is nowhere near finished. I'm still testing it, but this seems fairly consistent, fairly control based. So I'm just trying it out in multiple versions and seeing which one I like best. But yeah, well, I'll just bring this to you, and I'll keep you in tabs on what's going on with this, because this is going to be my main deck upcoming for Crossover Souls. There'll be a lot of support for me with this, so we'll keep your eyes posted on my page. So that's everything for me, guys. That's Swiftdeath out. Cheers for watching.